Hi, my name is Oscar. Welcome to Oscar's Green Card. Today we're going to cover the September 2024 Visa Bulletin. In this channel, remember that we talk about green cards like EB2 NIW or EB1 green cards in which you can self-petition. And that means that you can be the owner of your immigration future. You can do it without a company sponsoring you, without having a job offer. And also you can do it without a lawyer, without paying thousands of dollars in attorney fees. Here in this channel, we tell you how, but today we're going to cover a specific topic, which is the Visa Bulletin for September 2024. In case you are wondering, the Visa Bulletin is the publication that the State Department and USCIS issue every month to let us know what are the wait times, estimated wait times to obtain our green card. If you are new to the process or if you have already submitted your I-140 petition, you will need to keep tracking this monthly publication so you can estimate how long you have to keep waiting or how long will you have to wait. Okay, so it is very important to keep track of this. September is the last month of the fiscal year 2024, and in October we will start the year 2025, and that is great because the US has a quota system. That means that they issue a certain number of green cards every year. There's a cap on that number, and then each year they renew that pool of green cards that they can give out. So when the year changes, which will happen next month, then we can expect that the Visa Bulletin will show a reduction of the backlog. Okay, that is the expectation, but we'll have to see if that is true. But so let's get into today's topic, which is September. We're still in 2024, in the fiscal year for 2024. So the way you can access the Visa Bulletin is just type in Visa Bulletin in Google, check the first, click on the first result, and you will access this official website from State Department. Okay, it's a blue website. It finishes in .gov. That's the way you know that it is actually the real deal. And you will always have on the left side the current month, in this case August 2024, and on the right hand you will find the upcoming Visa Bulletin. We don't know when they issue it. Today is the 8th of August, and it happened to be today, but it could be on the 10th, on the 15th, and so on. So what I will do is I will open the current Visa Bulletin on one side, the next Visa Bulletin on the other tab, and we are going to jump from one and the other and see if there are any changes. Spoiler alert, there aren't, okay? It's going to be a boring and short video today because there are not a lot of changes, but sometimes no changes are not so bad news. So in August, in the current month, we had for table A, final action days, we had that the EB1 category, which includes EB1A, had a C, as usual. C means current, and this is the best case scenario if you are in the process. When you have a C, it means that you don't have to wait. There are enough visa numbers available to you, so if you file your I-140 and you are approved, then immediately after that, theoretically, you could get your interview and issued a green card. Of course, it's going to take a few months because there's processing times along the way, but this is definitely the best option for applicants. So we had a C, and in September, we again have current. And that applies for most countries except China and India, which are countries that have more demand. And because there is a per country cap as well, then they suffer from longer backlogs. So for example, China had a date of November 2022, and in September, again, November 2022, no changes. And India, February 2022, and in September, February 2022. What does this date mean? It means that only the people that have a priority date earlier than the date shown in this table can proceed to the end of the process, can actually get the green card. So imagine you are Chinese, you apply for an EB1 in September 2022, you check the table here, it says November, your priority date when you file your I-140 is earlier than this date. September is earlier than November. So that means that you can move to adjustment of status if you are in the US or consular processing if you are abroad. There are two ways of finishing the process, abroad or inside the US, adjustment of status or consular processing. So these people If their priority date is earlier than the date shown in the table, they can finish the process, so they are in the best spot. But imagine that you are also Chinese, but you filed in January 2023, then your priority date is later than this date, so you cannot move forward in the process. Okay, it's very important to understand how these things work so you can know when you have to file your adjustment of status, for example. Let me take a brief break and we'll get back to the visa bulletin, but I want to talk to you about our resources, EB1greencard.info for EB1A and EB2 NIW.info for NIW. By the way, that website is also in Spanish, EB2 NIW Espanol.info and EB2 NIW.pt, the new addition, the Portuguese website. We have tons of resources for people like you, do-it-yourself petitioners that want to take their future into their own hands without depending on others. And among everything that we offer, I really encourage you to take a look at our courses. Here on screen, you have the course curriculum for EB2 NIW. We offer classes that comprise everything from the requirements, how to fulfill the requirements, how to put together your petition and each of the key documents. You can submit questions in each lecture, and we meet once a month in a live session where we can see each other. You can ask me questions directly, and I truly believe this is the most comprehensive resource out there for do-it-yourself petitioners. So, what are you waiting for? Join us. All right, so let's see what happens with EB2. EB2 includes EB2 NIW, which is a very popular category, especially in this channel. And we had a date for most countries of 15th of March 2023. And if we see in September, we see exactly the same date. Again, no changes, March 15th, 2023. So those of you who have a priority date earlier than March 15th, you can move forward and complete the process. Again, this is in theory, because if you are, for example, waiting for consular processing, you will be waiting for an appointment in a US embassy or consulate abroad. And there are internal backlogs as well for each of those consulates. And in fact, consular processing is typically slower than adjustment of status, because in adjustment of status, you are already in the US, you can submit your petition, you just have to wait a little bit, but the process keeps moving. But with consular processing, you need to wait until they call you for that interview. And in some countries, the backlogs for embassies are too long. And unfortunately, they are not transparent about that, so we don't really know what those are, okay? So that's a question I get a lot, you know, what about Islamabad? What about in France? I really don't know, because unless you know someone that just gone through that process, you really don't have a website where the State Department publishes this kind of information. They only publish non-immigrant visa wait times, not green card wait times, okay? So, no big news for EB2 for most countries. Let's see for China and India. China had March 2020 as their date, India July 2012, and we see that they are really unchanged. So this is a month without a lot of flashing news, okay? Not a lot of news happening, not a lot of changes, but I have to say that sometimes it's not bad to have a month like this, because towards the end of fiscal year, what we fear is that we are actually going to have retrogression, which is when the dates move backwards, which is the worst case scenario. And not having retrogression at this point is pretty good news, to be honest. And yes, dates did not advance. That is not excellent news, of course. We expect always to have at least 1 month advancements to have a okay scenario. But like I said, September is the very, very, very last month of the year for the fiscal year for these agencies. So I'm not that unhappy about these results. One thing I usually tell you to do is to check if there are any notes at the end of the visa bulletin. And by the way, I'm only focusing on table A today, because table B, dates for filing, will not apply for this month. This would apply for adjustment of status at the beginning of the fiscal year. So probably next month we will focus on this, but adjustment of status in September, most likely they will use table A. So table B, we're not going to waste a minute. It's also unchanged, so nothing much to comment there. If you want to check what table you have to use for adjustment of status, you can click on this link that you see here, and it will open a website telling you that. Unfortunately, they published that information a few hours or even 1 day later, than publishing the visa bulletin. So even if I open it now, there will be no news there. So at the end of the visa bulletin, this month of September, the only thing that is interesting here for us, for people interested in EB1 or EB2, is that they have published the total green cards that they have been issuing in fiscal year 2024. And this is a requirement of the Immigration and Nationality Act. They need to report this number. And what we see here is that this year they are going to issue 226,000 family-sponsored preference green cards, and that's the kind of green card we don't typically cover in this channel. But for employment-based, which is the green card we cover here, they are issuing 160,791 green cards for employment, and that includes EB1, EB2, EB3, and so on. But that is more than the 140,000 limit that they have by default. But remember that each year there are some carryovers from, for example, from family to employment green cards, and we usually get a little bit more than 140. So this year the number is 160,000, and that is good news for you in employment-based categories, maybe not so much for family. And if we want to take a look at the summary of the big picture of what's been happening in EB2 NIW specifically, here I plot the number of months to be current in each of the visa bulletins since the end of 2022. At the end of 2022, we didn't have any backlog. That was amazing, but then things started moving in the wrong direction, and in a matter of half a year, we were already at the 16-month wait time mark, okay? And it was at that point fluctuating for quite a bit of time. I mean, since summer 2023 to now, September 2024, we are actually in the historical maximum number of months to wait to be current. We are at 17.5 months. Still a little bit less than what I was expecting. You know that I really don't make predictions, but I do have certain expectations, and I was expecting to even reach 20 months by the end of fiscal year. We didn't get there. We are at a maximum historical wait time here, but still it could be worse. And what we expect now for next month, hopefully, is that there will be a reduction in that wait time. When October comes, a new batch of visa numbers becomes available. Hopefully the days will reflect that, but as usual, this is not a prediction, it's just my general expectation. We're going to have to see each other 1 month from now here in this channel to keep discussing that. If we discuss EB1 for India, for example, the situation is not changed with respect to the last month. India went through a roller coaster. We saw in September 2023, we were at 140 months because there was a huge retrogression, and then things came down, but still not to the point where we were in July 2023. We are now at 30 plus months of wait time for India. And China doesn't have that situation, but they are also at historical maximum in EB1. We are seeing 22 months for China. So as usual, those are the two countries that suffer the most because they are big countries with a lot of population, a lot of immigrants in the US. They are still subject to the 7% per country limit. Each country can only take 7% of the family plus employment green cards each year. And that makes that countries like India or China with so much population suffer a lot from these types of backlogs related to the visa bulletin. So what do you think? Now is your turn. Let me know in the comments. Did you expect retrogression this month, the last month of fiscal year 2024? Did you expect some good news moving into the next year? Let me know in the comment below. That's why we have the comment section. And as usual, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next month.